Good morning, good night, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever it is, where you are right now. That's my greeting to you. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to another episode in my series, Perceive, Don't Feel. I hope you've been blessed and inspired and encouraged by the previous videos. And I just know this one will just bless it even more. So today I have company. I have a great friend here and by extension mentor. The nice, the clean, the handsome.
Aw.
Single but not ready to mingle, so ladies don't look too hard. Um, his name is Devani McCarthy, and he will be sharing his story today on how he overcame, low self-esteem or lack self-love and all those, big little things.
Yeah.
I'll give him some time to introduce himself.
All right, so my name is Devani McCarthy, as Corey here has said. I am a minister of the gospel. I love to teach, I love to inspire. I'm a motivational speaker, life coach, and I love what I do. And it's really an honor and a privilege to be here to share on this platform today with this wonderful woman of God.
All right, thank you, Devani. I'm trying not to blush on, and all of that. So yeah, Devani is one of the, if not the most vulnerable person I know. So finding someone to talk to about this was not a difficult task at all, and I'm excited. Um, I know some of the story. I mean, I know a lot. So, I'm excited to know what else, has been going on or what went on in his life. And yeah, so with that said, let's get right into it. So
All right.
Devani is going to tell us his story. His story now. So he'll know what to say. Devani's a talker, so I know he'll fill you in. But
I try not to
basically,
talk too much.
he'll be sharing, things that he went through. Um, things that caused him to have low self-esteem or felt as if he didn't love himself as much. He probably share how he overcame and all of that. But let's hear more from Devani.
All right, so that's a very long story. And I'll definitely try to make it as concise as possible. Everyone has a story. Everybody has something that they have been through. And let's just say I've been battling from the womb, right? And my mom told me that when she was pregnant with me, unfortunately, she got pregnant with me when she was about 17 years old. When she was still in high school, I believe it was grade 10 or 11, when she was progressing towards becoming the head girl. She's a very smart and intelligent woman. But because of certain things that were happening in her life personally and with family, she was vulnerable to my father. And let's just say a miracle happened. Um, but because of the age that she got pregnant, she literally became somewhat of a disgrace and an outcast to the family. And she was so distraught about it, to the point where she tried to commit suicide multiple times whilst pregnant with me. She also tried to abort me as well and even take pills to kill me, as well as to kill herself. And so, talk about trouble from birth or from even pre-birth. And so it's not by chance that I'm here whatsoever.
Come
I
on.
know that I am destined to be here,
Praise God.
right? And God ordained it so. But even though, yes, I was destined to be here and I did come into the world, thanks be to God, that did by no means negate my struggles, and my trials that I had to go through growing up, because we were very, very poor. And at the time, I was actually living with my stepfather, who was very abusive, was very, very abusive. And I used to have to watch him abuse my mother, as a young child. And that in itself brought its own trauma to me, especially because I couldn't do anything because he would threaten me as well. Right? And moving on from that, trying to escape from that abusive home, we were still, seen as the black sheep, or probably even the yellow sheep or the green one, in our family. And so it was kind of difficult to find homage even amongst our own. and we started bouncing from home to home. So this moment in my life, I was staying at the aunt's house. When them get tired of we, them kick we out. I had to go and stay at our uncle's house. Then them get tired of we, then we had to go and rent an apartment. And unfortunately, it came to a point where we couldn't afford it, so we had nowhere else to go again. And then I had to go and live with my grandparents, and each of these things brought a certain level of pain. And when people don't want you around, so sometimes I'll hear them back talking me, talking bad about us and stuff like that. I remember a specific incident where, when your mother used to tell you, don't go people yard, you know. But as a child, you're excited about life. You want to spend time with your family and you want to play with the other kids. And so I remember going to a cousin's house of mine, and whilst being there, something happened. I think he broke something precious to the family. And guess who got the blame? The black sheep. The ones that, nobody wanted around. And so those kind of things that I went through from family, the very people that are supposed to love you. And it's one thing to be rejected by external people. Friends are so on that you meet external of your life. But when you're rejected by your own, those that are supposed to love you, it carries a complete different weight.
Let's talk about it.
Man. And so that in itself brought on a certain stigma, a certain sense of low self-worth, low self-value. I felt like I wasn't worth anything. And coupled with that, I had an absent father. All right, I had an absentee father. So he was there. He would send my mother a little change every now and then and again, but he wasn't present. He wasn't present in my life. And so I had to struggle with the thought that my father didn't want me. Right? My father didn't want me. My stepfather abused me. And the people that I'm running to trying to find solace in, they don't want me either. Right? And so it was a continuous battle trying to find my place in the world. And then I remember another instance when I was in primary school. And it's so interesting how childhood trauma can stay with you. And specifically because we were so poor, we had to live off what they call the PATH program at the time. I don't know if you have ever been on that as well. But at that time, growing up, it was seen as low class and so on. And they used to make us eat out of some horrible looking yellow and green plate. So it's not like you got your food in box. You could have get out a box, box lunch. So you could have still probably hide it But they gave us lunch in some hideous plates. So everybody knows, this is a better than PATH program. And that led me to a certain phase in my life when I used to steal. And so what would happen is that while I was growing up with my grandparents, whenever they would put money down, I would steal it, right? So that I could go to school and I could buy lunch like the other students. I could be accepted in their clique, because when lunchtime came, everybody run gone a restaurant, gone buy them nice curry chicken and all of them something there, and I had to be eating off the PATH program. And because I was poor, even the class treated me with a certain kind of disdain, right? I wasn't included in the group and in the clique, right? And so that pushed me to actually developing the habit of stealing. So I would steal money from my grandparents or from whoever or wherever. As long as I see the money, I take it. And it's just because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to seem as if I had money too. Like, I can buy my own snacks, I can buy my own lunch, I can even sponsor somebody and say, because I remember a moment doing that as well. I say, man, go and go buy lunch, man, and, in order to win over friends on my side, to be accepted. I was seeking acceptance and seeking love because I wasn't getting it at home, I wasn't getting it from my father, I wasn't getting it from anywhere, right? And it really impacted my life tremendously, and it spilled over into my latter years. And so now I started seeking love externally from other people. And that led to a world of hurt and pain. Oh my God, just remembering some of the stuff that I had to go through, it's really, really rough. And like when you depend on your boyfriend or your girlfriend, in order to get little love and little attention. And so I was going into relationships in order to get love, or to feel acceptance, or to feel some kind of self-worth. And so I was giving of myself, and because of my vulnerability, because of my kindness, they took it for weakness and they used me. So almost every relationship that I went in, as Jamaican people that say, I was boopsed.
Boys and girls don't use people's children.
Man, so they used me. Many of the times they would have another partner while they're talking to me. I remember specifically, being in relationships, and they would leave me. I remember a female literally left me because she said I was too nice. She said you're too nice, and she broke up with me because of that. And she went to be with the so-called bad guy, the gangster in the school. And so on. Yeah. So I've been through that experience twice before. So I was constantly being rejected. And when you suffer rejection to that level, especially when you're giving of yourself, you get to this place now where you're just shut off. You're tired of love, you're tired of trying, you don't want to try anymore. I'm sick of this thing, I'm going to start use people. And I remember one of my friends, I was venting to one of my friends in high school. And I was getting over a terrible breakup. High school love, we love them, and I was crying and me a ball, water and all of them something there. And I went to the person to confide in the person, and the advice that the person gave me was, yo, man, you're an idiot, man. That's why I use woman, man, and me have one bag of woman and all of them something there. You see, me a fool, man, you make people use you and stuff like that. And when I thought about what he said, and this could have only been God, a thought came to my mind. And from that moment in high school, I made this personal declaration. And I said to myself in that moment, I will never let the world determine how I love.
Just say that again for me.
I will never allow the world to determine how I love.
Church, you hear that?
And so even though I was hurting, even though I was rejected, even though I was being used, I looked at the example that this person was trying to get me to do. And I was saying, listen, if this is how the world is going to try to get me to function, I don't want it. I don't want it. And I think that would have probably come from a place of growing up in the church. So I grew up in the church, even though I never want to go. When I grew up, and I used to hide my church shoes because I don't want to go to church. Or when church man come, my farm sick, I'll say me have fever and all of them, so me start all cough. Because I didn't want to go to church. But rain or shine, I was going to church. And I think, being in that environment, even though I understood absolutely nothing at all, the word got into my heart. And so I was able to make that declaration in that moment. And I still live by it today. I still teach it. And hence why my life, despite what I've been through, I am not my past. I am not my past. I am nothing compared to what I have been through. I look absolutely nothing like my abuse.
Let's talk about favor.
Man, listen.
Just say the quote one more time, the declaration.
And so the declaration is that I will never allow the world to determine how I love. Ever.
Wow.
Ever.
I will never allow the world to what?
To determine how I love.
To determine how I love. I will never allow the world to determine how I love.
Yeah.
Wow, what a beautiful story. I don't know about you, but my heart is full. And I really thank you, Devani, for being so vulnerable, for being so open, especially in a time and season which, our males, young men are taught not to be vulnerable because being vulnerable is equivalent to not being so much of a man.
Yeah.
And, it's really beautiful to know that there are still men out there that are manly enough, that are so much of a man.
It takes a man to be vulnerable.
Talk about it.
It takes a man to be vulnerable.
Are you a man if you're not vulnerable?
Exactly.
What man does speak? Well, so we're not talking about men right now. That's a whole different episode. But thank you, Devani. I really appreciate it.
Definitely.
And you see, guys, as he said, it doesn't look like what he's going through. And that's why it's so important to everywhere that you go, each person that you come into contact with, share love, because you
Mhm.
never know what someone else has been through or is going through. And as you share this story, I have follow-up questions and so
Mhm.
on. And as I said, this entire series entitled Perceive, Don't Feel is all
Mhm.
about self confidence, self love. Where do you get it from? How do I get this? And, with that said, you may be wondering, what is self confidence or what is self love? And for me, I think that self confidence is that ability to believe in oneself, their abilities. And then self love comes with having a certain regard, like a high regard or a certain self appreciation for your mental, emotional, physical. Um, how did I leave out? Not sure. But all the hours, that state, of yourself. I don't know if Devani has a different definition for either, as you would want to share.
Ah, self-confidence. Such a very important and critical thing to have, especially in this time and this generation where
Generation.
you're constantly receiving information. You're constantly receiving, different ideas and perceptions about who you are. The world tells you what you can and cannot do. And I'll answer that question from a scriptural perspective, if I may.
You may.
Um, and I remember reading a story in the book of John. I think it's about John chapter 8, where Jesus was having some disparity with the Pharisees. And after helping this woman that they wanted to stone because of her condition, right? And Jesus made a statement to the Pharisees, and he said to them, I am the light of the world, and whoever abides in me will never walk in darkness. And so the Pharisees asked him, who is this man? Who are you to be testifying of yourself as if you're anybody? Who are you to be so confident in yourself and in your own value and so on? Who are you to be declaring that you are light, are the light of the world? Such a bold statement. Nobody even know you. Right? You don't even know who your father is, because they called him an illegitimate child at one point. Your jacket, you don't even know who your daddy be. So how can you be telling us that you are the light, and if we walk in you, we will never be in darkness? And Jesus answered in this way, and he said, listen, uh, even if I testify of my own, and I can speak so boldly of myself and use the words I am, he said the reason for doing that is for two reasons. One, I know where I am from, and I know where I am going.
Come on. Amen.
He says, I know where I'm from and I know where I am going. Therefore, if I testify about myself, my testimony is valid because I know where I'm from. But you don't know where I'm from or where I am going.
I just feel a shift. I feel
Right?
a shift.
And so your level of self-confidence, it comes from an acute awareness of your source.
Well, guys, we're done. We're done. Come
It, it,
on.
it comes from an acute awareness of your source. And not just your source, but also your sense of destiny. Where are you going in life, Corey? Right? Where are you going in life? Right? Um, right. So your self-confidence come from your source and awareness of your source. That's your relationship with God, and as well as your sense of destiny, where you are going, which comes from your perception of purpose as well, or your sense of purpose.
Let's not jump the gun and go into the next season, the next series. I don't know why Devon is jumping the gun and speaking about purpose. But beautiful. So the question is, what's your source? What is your source? And as you said all of that, do you think there's a difference between, not a difference. Do you think you can have self-confidence without having self-love, or vice versa, or you think both come hand in hand?
Um, they work hand in hand. So being confident in yourself, it comes from an awareness of who you are, your purpose and your position in Christ as well. Your sense of self-love, on the other hand, it comes from knowing your worth and your value. So that word that we all use, self-esteem. it literally means to estimate how much you are worth. Right? So when there's a certain level of self worth and endearment on your person, right, then self love becomes a reality. Right? So, in other words, your past, whatever you've gone through, it shouldn't affect your perception of yourself. It does, but that's where knowing where you are from, which is your image in God, as well as your sense of purpose, comes in as well. So they work hand in hand to give you your self value and your self worth. And you can't know how much you are worth unless you go back to the source, because your image is in the source. He created you in his image and his likeness.
Let's talk about it.
Right? So you can only find your sense of value and worth in your source. And then from there, self-love becomes a reality and self-confidence.
We thank God. We thank God. Okay, so he spoke about the source.
Mhm.
You know, it's so important. You know, where you get it, where is it that you get your self confidence from, your self love, externally, or do you seek it in other people? And it's so important. To go back to the manufacturer. And he taught me that as well. He knows you best, and he marked you and he stamped you because you are complete. You are whole. You were whole before you even came here. I know that's so important. And what better? Who better to go to than the one that knows you best, the one who made you, you know? And it's so important. And Devani, I have another question for you. How does self-confidence aid in success? Because you speak about, know where I'm going, what I want in life and things like that. How important is self-confidence as it relates to my success and where I want to be?
Man, that's a very critical question. And a lot of persons always think their success is only dependent on God. And they say that, if you have enough faith, or if God sanctions it, then I'll be able to do it. But it doesn't just take confidence in God, it takes confidence in yourself. It takes self-belief as well.
Self.
Right? Because God can tell you a million prophecies, but if you don't believe in yourself, in your own self-worth and ability to do it, you will not execute it. And this is a position where a lot of persons are stuck in, and it's because of fear. And the thing is that a lot of persons, they think they're afraid of failure, but they're even more afraid of success. Because with success, it comes with a certain level of responsibility that is going to be now demanded from you, right? That you are not ready to give, right? And so if you don't believe in yourself, in your own innate abilities that God placed in you, then you won't be able to initiate and begin to act. So a lot of persons, they receive prophecies on top of prophecies. Then probably God's supposed to tell to prophesy to them now. Every prophet will come at church, them run down at the altar first, right? But it's the lack of self-belief because of their own perception of themselves that is preventing them from progressing and moving forward. So you have to believe in yourself just as much as you believe in God in your life as well.
All right. So, wow. I'm lost for words. Honestly, I mean, I've learned a lot. I'm encouraged. I don't know about you, but I leave you with this. How much of your time do you spend with yourself? Um, Many of us, we spend so much time encouraging others, breathing life into others. Not Jesus, but breathing life into others,
Yeah.
affirming others. But where are you for you when you need you? There is no one else that needs you more than you.
Yeah.
And with everything that was shared today with Devani, I hope that you are encouraged. I pray that, as you listened, as you took everything, as you digested everything, you, from this day on, will be there for you, and to know that you can only be you, and from this day on, you can only be the best you, and always aim for that. So, number one thing to take from this: where does your self confidence and self love come from? God, the one who made you, the one who knows you best,
Yeah.
and the one who marked you and sent you here complete. So you will lack nothing. So thank you again for tuning in. We thank you. It's another episode from the series Perceive, Don't Feel. I'm your girl Kori-Ann. You know what to do. Just click the share button and just share to all your friends that you know that lack self-love or need, a little bit more confidence in their self. And subscribe and just be there for you and seek God. Thank you.
Bless up. Hey!